At sunset, just the final lap of the show now, and we would like to take this day to mark International Volunteer Day. The significance, the history, the day is just about promoting volunteerism and to encourage governments to support volunteer efforts and to recognize the contributions and the achievements of Sustainable Development Goals. That's the SDG. So International Volunteer Day or International Volunteer Day for Economic and Social Development, that's a full name, which is celebrated December 5 every year, that's today, was designated by the United Nations in 1985 as a day to celebrate the power and potential of volunteerism. So this day brings an opportunity for volunteers and volunteer organizations to raise awareness and to gain understanding of the contributions that they make to the society. So this day is to promote volunteerism, to encourage governments to support people in whatever way they are coming out and making a contribution to life, to history, to the environment, to the society, to people in general. So it was through the resolution 40-212 of 17 December 1985 that the General Assembly invited governments across the world to observe International Volunteer Day on December 5 every year. So who are we to not mark what the United Nations said we should mark? We were members of the United Nations, right? So, United Nations are urging people to take measures to create awareness of the important contributions of volunteer service across the world. Have you imagined if there were not volunteers? Various organizations, various governments, civil society groups, and the UN system around the world have brought together volunteers to celebrate this day at different levels. And the theme for International Volunteer Day 2022 is solidarity through volunteering. Now, according to the UN, that's the United Nations, this highlights the power of a collective humanity to drive positive change through volunteerism. And that's why I'll be joined today by a volunteer, someone I actually met on the job. Yes, I met her as a volunteer. So here we have Yango Sor. Hello, Yango.
Hi, Dorothy. Good evening.
Good evening to you. It's amazing to have you join us today on the show. My God, I'm trying. Can you hear me?
Well done. Yes, I can.
So I was just introducing you a minute ago and I said how that I met you on the job as a volunteer.
Yes, it is.
Tell me, how has it been so far? And how many years have you been a volunteer for?
Okay, so thank you very much, Dorothy, and thank you for having me. I have been basically a volunteer with Abuja Conversations platform since inception, so give or take 3 years now.
Great.
But my volunteer experience, when you're talking about volunteering, sometimes people feel that, you have to write like a signed agreement and all of that before it can pass.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, it's not quite like that. My volunteer experience, I'll trace it as far back as my early young years as part of the Girls Brigade organization way back in my early years.
How old were you? Give us a range. How old were you?
Say from ages 3 to 17. Yes.
That's 3 years old.
Yes.
How did you know that you were deciding to be a volunteer at the time? Because we're pretty young. What did you know about volunteering at the time?
Right. So that is the angle that I was trying to come from, because most times when you talk about volunteering, people think that, okay, it has to be this structured thing.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, anything that gives you an opportunity to contribute to something, you are exchanging your skill set without receiving direct value. You are voluntarily offering a service without saying that, okay, you must be compensated for it. And sometimes in reality, if you look at it critically, most of the things, Nigerian youth, most of us are part of one organization or the other in church.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually like years of volunteer experience, right?
Mm-hmm. So
it goes way back. But it is in hindsight that I realized that, that was actually a volunteer experience, because we are part of groups, we did projects, we organized meetings, and the whole lot of stuff. But it just wasn't recorded as to say, oh, okay, this is an actual volunteer experience.
I like something you said. You said something about, giving yourself, your time, your energy to a cause without, asking for direct value per se, right? Now,
Yes.
So I have seen volunteers in other countries, and most times, mostly developed countries, when we hear volunteers, it's not like they would be empty-handed, like pata pata, nothing is coming in. Sometimes you hear them collect stipends, although it may not be termed salaries. So what is the situation like in your experience in Nigeria?
Okay, so in my experience, again, it's not all volunteer. Most of the volunteer roles, even though they are not paid, there are stipends attached to it. Now, the back end story is that you can't pay people below minimum wage in a country, right?
Right. And our own is like 30,000 naira.
Yes, right. So say an organization needs specialized services and they need an avenue to build skills and then also achieve an objective without hiring a structured person that will collect a salary that is above minimum wage, and then entitlements of health benefits and pension and all of that.
Yeah.
They get in volunteers. Now, as a volunteer, you are entitled to things that can enable you do your job better.
Good.
So say, for example, you are required to come into work. Most organizations provide a stipend for transportation cover, or they provide a means of moving you from your home to the office.
Mm-hmm.
And because most of our movements lately involves communication and data.
Exactly. So they also have to take care of your communication, data, phone recharge, and all of that.
Yes. So while all of this is not always being mentioned, it's so that it will weed out the persons that are going solely for the money, as against the ones that have a personal passion to contribute to the cause, regardless of the outcome.
I get that, right? But okay, I get this explanation. But what about the people who also, I don't know, should I say take advantage of people's ignorance? Because people don't know that you actually are entitled to a few things, just because, because some people just have the mindset of, oh, okay, because I'm volunteering, I just expect that I'll be using my money to do everything from my end. Is it that these organizations who, call on these volunteers to come in, they are not aware that they have responsibilities to these volunteers, or are they taking advantage of the volunteers' silence or ignorance, as the case may be?
Right. So typically there has to be an agreement on arrival at the starting point, right? Mm-hmm. So one thing I'll say is, regardless of what the organization's policy is, as a volunteer, you are not coming into the organization empty-handed. So it is your responsibility to say that, okay, I am volunteering my service. I'm going to be doing this and this and this, and I'll need you to do this and this and this. I know that it sounds corny to say that, oh, okay, you are volunteering, because most organizations say that, oh, we are helping you to build skills. But in reality, the volunteers are not going to the organizations empty-handed. You have something to offer, and you need an enabling environment to be able to achieve that, right?
Right.
So enabling environment means that the organization is going to provide what you would need to achieve, the help that you are offering the organization. Mm-hmm. So I'll say that while it is true that some persons do take advantage of people that are ignorant, and some organizations feel that they are doing the volunteers a favor. Well-structured organizations that understand the value and importance of volunteer work, and they know that this is not charity. Mm-hmm. It is actually someone offering their time and their expertise to achieve a cause that they believe in. Mm-hmm. They understand that while the volunteers are pledging their time and their commitment, they, as an organization, also have a responsibility to make sure that the person has what they need to get the job done. and including, a cohesive environment that works for them.
All right, you're listening to Citizen FM 93.7, 6:44 p.m. That's what the time is. And it is International Volunteer Day. And I have Yango Sor on the line with me. We're talking volunteerism in Nigeria. What has the struggle been, especially for the volunteers themselves? But let's talk about, for the organizations that require the services of volunteers now, right? How has it been, at least in your experience? You've been on the field since you were 3, from what you've said, and that's a pretty long time. Yes. How has it been like support when it comes to government support for some of these organizations? Because sometimes, right, the notion is that when government hears about, there's volunteers or the people who are volunteering or taking care of this thing, this aspect, they just lean back on that aspect. Do you people get the necessary support that you need from the government?
Okay, so I'll be the first to tell you that Nigerian government, in terms of civil service and the officers that we deal with across board, have been very supportive.
Woo!
I think that
in fact, wait. We need to give a round of applause for that. Very quickly. In fact, where's my round of applause? Where is it? Can you imagine? Really?
I think the challenge is most people just assume that, the government people will give them a hard time, so they don't even go through
so they defeat themselves before they even get on the field.
Before they even get there. And most of them don't even get there, right? So it is required, for example, that you want to do something with, say, Ministry of Environment, for example. There are people that are in charge of that. And regardless of whether they are directly involved or not, you have to give them the informed consent. So you are drafting a letter to explain to them that this is what you are doing, this is who you are, and this is to what level you are doing, so that they are informed and carried along. Most people don't, actually, which is where the problem comes in. But for as many people that have reached out directly to them to tell them that, okay, this is our cause, this is what we want to do, they will always receive support from the government.
Always? Are you sure? You just said always.
I am sure. I am sure.
Yes. In fact, this round of applause, look at that.
It may take you 2 to 3 weeks longer than your initial time, but you will always get
support. Yeah. So that means that the wise thing to do is to just give a good time for notice. So put in your notice early enough. So say, for instance, you have an event for March of 2023. Maybe you should begin to, put in your request for when. Give us a scope. Like what time?
Ideally, you should have clearance by December. Pata, all else fails. You should have clearance by the last working day of January.
First of all, I don't know, this thing you're just like pata now. It just made me laugh. Like it's been a minute. Someone said it to me. I think I just used it like a minute ago. And I said you're going on pata nothing here. But when you said it, it's like boom shakalaka. Oh my God.
Yeah. So advance notice helps. Advance notice helps.
Okay. All right. Is there something else you would like to add? Because we're beginning to round off now.
Okay, so I would just like to, shout out everyone that has been diligently volunteering their service.
Honestly.
There has been a massive need for volunteers with skills. Sometimes when we are talking about volunteerism, some people think that it is only those that don't have skill sets. Now we are calling on people that say, teachers that have retired, you could volunteer your skills to actually support the younger ones that are coming up and mentor them in how they can, build resilience and how to navigate most of these challenges that come with dealing with, the things around our climate. Right. So I want to encourage as many people as possible to, volunteer your service. It could be something as much as just 30 minutes of conversation in a month with someone, and you may never know how far
impactful
along
that would be.
And for those that are volunteering their skill sets in organizations that are not rewarding their efforts, I want to encourage them to keep at it, and the skills will translate into something really good, hopefully sooner than you think.
Thank you very much, Yango. So you rock. I think you're just the
Thank you
best
so
person
very
for
much,
this evening, and I was divinely led to you. I want to thank you for being a part of the show tonight, for giving us your thoughts, your opinions, and for opening our eyes to some of these things. Some of the misconceptions that we have had before now. Thank you for the clarification. We love you. You rock. Here is a round of applause for you.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. Have a lovely evening.
Yes, you too. Bye bye. Oh, people, now International Volunteer Day. That's what we just celebrated, at least in our own quarter, in our own right, in our own way. International Volunteer Day. I read out a few things for you. I mean, I was going to say I reeled out a few things. I was not going to say I read out. I read out a few things for you. The theme for International Volunteer Day 2022 is solidarity through volunteering, and I'm sure Yango so touched on that a minute ago. Now, according to the UN, this highlights the power of a collective humanity to drive positive change through volunteerism. So that's why we gave a special shout out to everyone who's been contributing their quota. And of course, it's not about having just people who don't have the right skill set, people who actually have the right skill set and are still volunteering these. We appreciate you. We celebrate you deeply. We thank you a lot. Today's your day, morning till evening, until 12 midnight at least. This is your day, so we're just going to be giving you shout outs every now and again. Thank you. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for turning up every single day. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for not letting us down in any way. We love you a lot. Stay with us. It is Citizen FM 93.7. Do the right thing. Kobamza Suko and Bez. I'll be back to round off in a bit.